A sense of deja vu all over again. U.S. prosecutors have filed revised charges against Donald Trump in his alleged attempts to interfere in the 2020 election after he lost. If you think you've heard this before, well, you have. A similar case earlier was thrown into doubt after the Supreme Court ruled presidents have broad immunity for official acts. So what's different this time around? The words in the charges have been changed, referring to Trump as a political candidate rather than a sitting president.
In fresh legal trouble for former President Donald Trump, federal prosecutors in the U.S. filed a revised version of an indictment accusing him of plotting to overturn the 2020 election. The pared-down indictment removes several pages of allegations following the U.S. Supreme Court decision that found Trump at least partially immune from prosecution related to his official acts as president. Trump slammed the indictment by terming it ridiculous and asking for it to be dismissed immediately. His Republican running mate, J.D. Vance, attacked special counsel Jack Smith, labeling the indictment as election interference.
I don't think that it changes anything legally. I think it's clearly an effort to try to do more election interference from Jack Smith. He should be ashamed of himself, and it's one of the reasons why we have to win, because he should not be anywhere near power.
The most significant change to the original indictment is the removal of the section alleging Trump tried to involve the Justice Department into supporting his false claims that the election had been rigged against him. The indictment contains the same 4 charges accusing Trump of conspiring to reverse his election loss to President Joe Biden. Experts say the indictment was highly unlikely to proceed to trial ahead of the November 5th presidential election. However, it seems the indictment is likely to have an impact on the Trump campaign as it thrusts his alleged criminal history to the forefront in the crucial months of the 2024 campaign and plays into the hands of Harris and her allies who have recently started attacking Trump's criminal record while campaigning. The indictment also sheds light on Trump's huge personal stake in winning the elections. Trump will undergo another legal wrangling this month as he is due to be sentenced on September 18th in the criminal hush money case, less than 2 months before the presidential election. With Vishal Vivek, Gargi Rawat for NDTV World.
Now, for more, we're joined by Voice of America's Chief National Correspondent, Steve Herman. Thanks very much, Steve, for joining us. Steve, firstly, how surprised should we really be about these revised charges?
Well, I think a little bit surprised because I think some people, maybe including Donald Trump himself, thought this was one of the cases that was now out of the way, but it's rearing its head back again, although, as was pointed out in the report, we're not likely to see really anything progress for this to end up in court before the November election. But it is another Damocles sword hanging over his head that if he were to lose the election, he does face some significant jeopardy if convicted of any of these charges.
Steve, now the charges have been carefully tweaked, keeping in mind what the Supreme Court ruling had to say about presidential immunity. But can the charges really pack in that punch that the special counsel is really hoping for this time around?
Well, that's certainly the hope of the special counsel, that they've pared this down now. It removes those objections as a result of that Supreme Court ruling, kicking out what were considered official acts that the president was conducted and putting it more into the vein of him acting as a political candidate. And interestingly, some of the interactions that he had with his vice president, Michael Pence. Now, there is a deadline for Friday for both sides to tell the judge how they want to proceed with this case. We expect that the judge will want to move this along, but very unlikely to see it expedited to the point that Trump ends up back in the courtroom dealing with this case, as I said, before the election.
Now, Steve, on the one hand, this might seem like this is great news for the Harris campaign, but in many ways, this also gives added ammunition to the Trump campaign as well to say, look, this is a witch hunt, the very reason we need to get rid of the Democrats from the White House.
You're right, Alistair. I think that both sides are going to try to use this to their advantage. Is it really going to make a difference for the vast majority of the electorate? Probably not. But when we're talking about the election coming down most likely to a few swing states and perhaps as little as 1,000 or so votes in some of those states, then if you can sway that small number of people either to go out and vote or not go out and vote, or maybe people that were sitting on the fence going one way or the other, it does have the potential, among other things, to sway the outcome of the election.